This game has 100 rooms! And each one is like 2 screens long. That's 200 screens! And that's the game's main selling point. Hey, back in the day it didn't take much. But when you're constantly juggling a mental map of those rooms, as well as dealing with 6 different kinds of keys, and oh yeah, lots of things trying to kill you, it can get to be kind of a bear. Here's Castlequest, a prime example of one of those old-school puzzle action games that wants for a notebook full of graph paper, some colored pencils, and a whole lot of time. You're a prince, there's a captive princess in this castle. Plot out of the way, good. Rather than singing ballads or parading around in your finest finery, though, you've got to extricate this damsel in distress by solving a huge wall of interdependencies between the keys littered throughout the castle and the multitude of pathways, elevators, and submerged passages that get you from point A to love interest B. Unfortunately, the jerk in charge of this castle has outdone himself, outfitting it with false floors, monsters, spike traps, man-eating monstrous plants, crushing platforms, monsters, sentient fireballs, monsters, and more. Your only recourse is to outwit the architects of this death trap using nothing but your Princess Peach-esque levitation skills, your Dagger of Shortness plus 0.25, and the aforementioned notebook of graph paper. Three things work in your favor. First, for whatever reason, leaving a room and returning to it will reset the objects within to their original places, but any monsters that perish will stay dead. Lucky you. Second, if you realize you've unlocked the wrong door, you can rewind your last traversal by opening the sub-menu, which unfortunately requires a second controller used only for the sub-menu. Brilliant. Finally, the monsters are pretty dumb. All the effort went into the design of the castle, leaving the AI rather lacking. That's not to say it's not challenging, though. Said design includes this freaking barrel on a conveyor belt, which is instant death, apparently. For what is ostensibly a puzzle game, there's a hell of a lot of platforming and precision timing. Rather jarring a concept for as floaty a prince as Raphael here. If you do brave the perils of the Castlequest, you better be ready to do it in one go. You have 50 lives in order to do so, 50 right from the jump, and there are plenty of 1-up flasks strewn throughout the castle. You have 50 lives, though, because there's no save function. At all. Let me put this in perspective. 100 rooms total 200 screens. The entire overworld map of the original Legend of Zelda was 128 screens. You can blame this one on the Western markets never receiving the equivalent of the Famicom data recorder, that cassette tape peripheral that also allowed for actually saving data, and Excitebike, Mach Rider, and Wrecking Crew. Together, these are the only 4 games, along with Famicom Basic, the programming kit, that utilize the device. Fantastic investment there, folks. That said, if you've ever wanted a tape deck with Nintendo's name on it, you're set for $180. But we're not here to talk about tape decks, we're here to talk about horrifyingly brutal NES games, and Castlequest lives up to its reputation. This is the kind of game that would leave the Cacho curled up in a corner, cold packs applied to every inch of his skin. We may have missed out on the Quest of Kai, but this certainly picks up the slack.